Well, hello, beautiful artisans on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your interaction, your comments, your questions, and welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before, we're so happy to have you. So today I'm going to do a couple of shout outs. I'm going to share the projects that I'm currently working on with you, as one of them is kind of a little bit different design than I usually do. So I want to, and it's super simple, but I want to share it with you. And I want to give you a couple of more facts or historic facts on the Kiwandi quilts, because when I do videos on these quilts, people are really interested in them, and there seem to always be questions. So I want to address some of these today, and hopefully that will help you along on your projects. And then we can talk about the next project, which we're going to be doing in a couple of days. So very first, shout outs. Icky Chick Designs on YouTube. She is presenting a challenge to create a journal, and she calls it slow stitching. And so I'm going to be doing a video actually on the difference between slow stitching, sashiko stitching, embroidery, running stitches. Some people might say these are all the same. Anyway, there's some inherent differences there. But this is a wonderful challenge because you can take your time, you can go at your own pace, you can pick your own theme, you can do it your own way. So anyway, I thought that was wonderful. And I'm in that challenge, so I'm going to be working on a journal in that challenge. So the other shout out I want to give is for Allison Waitley. Whatel, I believe it's Ley, and she is Ly, and she is she does what they call Moorland, Moorland, fabric, like textile art. It's just mind-blowing. I just love it. I love it because she's using scrap fabrics. And in the Icky Chick design, she uses scraps also. So this promotes recycling, eco-friendly projects, and beautiful gifts. So Allison, see, I did this. This painting is all fabric. This is all fabric. This is kind of like I was messing around with the fabric. So hers is a completely different style and technique. It's very relaxed. It just kind of runs together. She uses the machine sewing. So I love it. And it's extremely inspirational. So I wanted to give a shout out to Allison also. So my current projects now I want to share with you. I am working on Boro Inspired hats. I think I've shown these to you before. There's a lot of them over on my Instagram and TikTok. This one is all hand sewn. Now, depending on the denim that I have available, my hats will be different. This one was pieced together in rounds, and this next one is going to be pieced together in panels. And when I have all 6 of them done, I'll share with you. But the different technique that I used is I'm stitching my manipulated image. So, you know, I'm not just like picking, and you've seen me do this, like a Kiwandi style. You're working from your soul, just kind of picking out of the recycle bin and just kind of placing the fabrics according to what I like and this and that. Here I have cut the recycled fabrics into an image. So this is a lotus, and I machine stitched it, and everything is recycled. These are all recycled. These are not patches that I went to buy. However, I'm making them. So then I'm doing my visible sashiko stitching, my hand stitching around my machine stitched image. I am sure people have done this before, but I always think, oh wow, I just discovered something. So my next quilt, what I would like to do, because I've done houses, I have a couple of, maybe half a dozen of them actually, pieces like this of linen, cotton linen, where I have put a house on, so, or other images, and I sashiko stitch them on. So what I'm going to do with this piece is I want to do maybe a village, and I want to sew them on and then sashiko stitch. So I'm going to combine the two techniques, and that's my next project with you. And I may go live on that, because on some of it, because I will be working on that back and forth with my other projects. So it might be difficult for me to put together a full pre-planned video, and this way I can go live and just share with you my creative process and talk to you as I'm going along. I will talk to you as I talk to myself. We'll have a lot of fun talking. So now I wanted to share with you a couple of facts on the Kiwandi. So on my other video, I shared with you that the Kiwandi is made by women in India. But I want to give you a little bit more information there. And I am not a historian by any means. So this is on the surface and very general, because I use all of my time creating. I would love to study more, but what I've studied I will share with you. So, but there's a few historians out there who are sharing and studying information on the Kiwandi quilts. And one of them is Henry Drew Well. It's Drewal, and I'll put his name in my content. So he was studying the arts of Africa, and he was studying the Siddi women who are descendants from Africa. And they are descendants anywhere from like hundreds of years ago to I would say almost 800 years ago. And the reason there's this two different timelines is because what happened is that there were merchants and soldiers who were going to India and may have moved to India on their own free will. And then there was this era when the Europeans were enslaving people from Africa and bringing them to India. Now, the part of India where the Siddi women reside is called, I have to get my notes here, and Karnataka, India. And so what happened is these women held on to their cultures as much as they could. Some of the Africans who were brought there or decided to stay there integrated into the Indian culture, and others held on to their culture and isolated themselves actually from the communities. So the Kiwandi quilting was originally, as I put in my other video, made as memory pieces for a member of the family, and using the piece as article of their clothing. So, and then you have the florets here that represent that the piece is complete. Without these, the piece would not be considered complete. And they call them fula, or I call it floret or flower. So now the Siddi women are descendants of Africa. In Africa, they're descendants of Bantu populations in Africa that go back 4,000 or 5,000 years. So I looked up the Bantu populations, and the artwork that they did was absolutely mind-blowing, absolutely exquisite. So I wanted to share that with you. That might be another video. And as I get a video editor, I can start sharing more information with you. So anyway, I found that very, very interesting. And oh, here it is. Yeah, about 800 years. The Siddi women in India have been a part of India since the 7th century. And during all that time, they have held on to their African heritage, which I think is absolutely amazing. Now, as I was studying or researching the Siddi women creating Kiwandi, I ran across another quilters group here in America in Boykin, I believe it's Boykin, Alabama. Excuse me. And their name is G's Bend Quilting Collective. And this quilting group is extremely interesting because to me, when I looked at the quilts, I see a similarity between their quilting and the Kiwandi quilting. And so I believe there must be a connection in the origin, right? I'm not sure. I could not find that in writing, but I'll do more research and we'll pick up on that and see if we can find a connection. But the G's Bend Quilting Collection now have a retreat in Boykin, Alabama. I will put the link in my content for you also. The women are direct descendants of G's cotton plantation, of people who were enslaved in G's cotton plantation, and they're direct descendants. And when everybody was dispersing, leaving Alabama or leaving the South and coming up north to be free, or going to the West or Midwest to be free, the families of these women did not leave. They stayed. So the women started to make quilts way back in the early 1800s. Their families were making quilts out of necessity. Okay, and that's similar, right, to Boro, the authentic Boro quilts, as those were made out of necessity and out of scraps, just like the G's Bend quilting group also has done and makes them out of scraps. It's very humbling, beautiful quilts. These quilts are stunning. They are now in, a good number of them are in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Check it out. If you see a similarity between their quilts designing and the Kiwandi, let me know, because unless I missed it, there must be a connection. It's just phenomenal. So I wanted to share that with you. And now a couple of questions and answers on Kiwandi that people seem to have. The repetitive questions and answers are mainly a number of vloggers, I'm just going to say, I noticed when I was researching, a few of them said, my hands hurt after I made my Kiwandi quilt. Your hands should not hurt. Now, the reason I think their hands are hurting is this. Now, I don't know, I have not traveled to India and done any interviews, But I'm suspecting the reason their hands are hurting is they're going through all of the layers. They may be using a blunt needle on top of it. Sashiko needles are very, very, very sharp. And sashiko needles, when people are doing Boro, when they, experts I want to say, are doing Boro, you will see them doing their runs, their stitches through the top layer of the denim, because there's layers. They'll go through the top layer. So they're not stressing and going all the way through. They're staying in the top layer. I have done that. I've practiced it on and off, and I love the idea of it, and I will do it more. I do it more and more, but it takes practice. And the easier way for me to do in the most natural way is to go all the way through. So I suspect a couple of things, that they're going all the way through these layers. And the other thing, they're not using a needle necessarily that is conducive to what they're doing. And so when you make a Kiwandi quilt, the traditional way to do the Kiwandi is, so you have your backing here, and then you begin your first row of your design, and then you have your batting, right? You have your batting, but your design is on a base. So you have your design, you have your base, you have your batting, you have your backing. You might have too many layers, possibly. And I am all for one, amending. Amending, changing, mixing, matching. But if you are an expert in Kiwandi, please let me know. This is how I do my Kiwandi. Is I do my design layer first on my base. And then I do a backing. But the real Kiwandi is adding that layer. Now, I read on some of the vloggers, they said, oh, I went to the store and bought batting. So, you know, these quilts are made from humble methods and humble beginnings. They're using scrap fabrics. Usually their batting is not a thick piece of batting. It is a piece of cotton sheet. So they put that in. So if you have a thick piece of batting in there and you're trying to go through all your layers, that's going to hurt your fingers a lot. Now, if you do have that batting there, maybe you want to work in just the batting, the top layer of the batting, like many sashiko experts or Boro building experts do. They work in that top layer. So the important thing is this stitch here, those first few stitches, because you want to get that batting secure. You do want those stitches to go in your batting, because if they don't, your batting's going to bunch up, right? So you do want to catch them. And so that might be one reason that the hands are hurting, or a couple of reasons. Now, the second question is, someone was asking, well, why don't you iron your pieces? Many of the recycled fabrics today are wash and wear. They skip the ironing process, right? However, you can iron your pieces if you want to. It's up to you. But the method used for the technique doesn't even touch that ironing, because, you know, hundreds of years ago when they were doing this, they didn't stop to iron. They were making their quilts out of necessity. They were cold, so they were just trying to get the fabrics together. So, but you can definitely incorporate that into your method. Now, another question is, why are you using raw edges, or why are you not folding your pieces? On the Kiwandi here, the edge, the first row is folded back. But here, as you go along, they are raw. Now, if you want to fold them, I believe you can. I've seen people folding. So in the authentic Kiwandi, if they fold, I'm not sure. I believe that they don't. Now, there's a couple things. If you're using organic fabric, like tightly woven cottons, and you cut them, you're not going to get the fraying. They're going to be okay. You can, the way these stitches are stitched in with their running stitches and multiple rows, they adhere the piece beautifully. Now, if you have fraying, you have a piece that's a problem frayer. Let's say you'll know it because I've experienced that. And those pieces are usually a loosely woven piece with thicker strands. So when you put the needle in or you're trying to sew it to your piece, the strands pop out. They pop out. They start coming apart. So you don't want to use that type of thick, in my opinion, fabric. If you do, maybe you apply a fabric adhesive to adhere your raw edges, or you could do that to your whole piece. Fraying is a beautiful, intricate part of art, of fabric art. Many times artists will purposely fray their pieces and to get that effect. So it's all up to you how you want to do it. Now, if you do fold those edges, you're going to get another layer to go through, basically. It's going to make it a little thicker, a little more difficult, in my opinion, for you. So those are just a few tidbits I wanted to share with you today. And the next project I plan, and I'm not the greatest on planning, especially with art. Art is very impromptu. I could tell you this now, and then a half an hour from now I have another idea. However, this has been an idea staying with me, and because I'm doing this with you, you are my encouragement. I will stay with the plan, okay? But I do want to make a quilt with this technique. I want to manipulate images. I want to make a village of some kind and then do my sashiko stitching around. We'll see how it comes out, but I'll bring you along. So if you have any questions on the Kiwandi, or there's something else you'd like to know, please let me know. But I will put all the groups and the people that I referenced in my content, so you have that. And you have a beautiful day.